Hi, it's Nikki. We are here with Hangoutlander. And we are going to be talking about episode 403 called The False Bride. It was a mystery until we figured out who the false bride was. Anyway, I'm Nikki. I am joined by both our reviewer for the week, our tweeter for the week, and Amy and me. And let's go around and introduce ourselves first. I got a little Pinot Noir. I even brought the bottle over because last time I ran out and was really sad I couldn't run and get a refill. So I'm ready to go. Amy, why don't you say hello?
Hello, I am Amy. I did not tweet or recap this week, but I'm the resident grump, so that is why I'm here. And when you said that we found out what the false bride is, did we? I still don't even know what that means.
We did. We'll just talk about it after everyone says hi.
I'm drinking a Nebbiolo that is, I also brought the bottle. But my friend and tennis partner owns a liquor store in town, and she's changing her inventory. And this is a $76 bottle of wine that she gave me for the prime discount of $7.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? It pays to know people, and it is delicious.
Okay, Courtney.
Hello, I'm Courtney. I live tweeted this week. I am drinking iced tea out of my really handy cup because it's too early for me to drink. Otherwise, I'd love some Nebbiolo.
Is it too early for you to drink or too late for you to drink?
It's too late. Like the bars are closed. Closing time. But I want to second how amazing Nebbiolo is. It's a regional wine here, and it's one of my faves.
Mm-hmm. What time is it there, Courtney?
It is like 3 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yeah, in the morning.
Did you go to sleep and then wake up to do this?
Oh, of course. I took a shower, went to sleep, woke up, put on a little bit of makeup, and I'm here for you people.
Oh, we're so glad you joined us, especially for this.
I love it.
Good.
Get my Outlander fix.
Okay, Emily.
Yeah, I'm Emily. I was your recapper for the week, so don't at me if you didn't like any of my top 10 moments. I didn't get the bottle of wine memo, so I'm drinking some sad little 0-calorie nonsense. So whatever.
Please tweet Emily if you know how to spell Tulacard. So.
I'm gonna purposely spell it wrong from here on out.
Just say you're tweeting it with an accent.
Hashtag Tulard. If anyone has not read Emily's recap, there was some snarky jerk-off fellow who commented about a typo in Tulacard that he didn't understand what the word was when clearly he did. We're talking about Outlander, and it was almost Tulacard. He couldn't figure it out. Oh well. So the episode title is called The False Bride. Emily, do you want to share why it was called The False Bride and enlighten me a little?
Yeah, so when I watched it, had to do a little research after because I did not understand a word Roger said while he was singing. But the name of the song is called The Lass I Loved or Alas I Loved, but the other title for it, an alternate title, is The False Bride. Which I interpreted to be Brianna, that she was, not having any of his proposal, his beautiful proposal. So I would say she's the false bride. And that's why that was the title card, and mainly to do with the song.
I agree with you. Whoever found out that song was really punny and good.
Matt Roberts.
Did he say he was?
No, but I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that out there.
We did some research. Now you have to listen.
Yep. Pretty much.
When it's your job, you better come up with punny episode titles. All right. So the episode opens up. Roger has sold the house, the manse, to Fiona. I don't remember that at all in the book, so I was a little confused at why he sold the house to Fiona.
I remember that, but it was so uninteresting. But it gave us a chance to see Roger dressed as like a 57-year-old dork. Like, did he have on like pleated front khakis? Like he just looked like dumpy.
Also, the fact that he was just, strumming a tune in the empty living room, which clearly was setting it up for later. But anyone who comes over and is playing an instrument in your house is like the most annoying person ever.
It's like that scene in Animal House where the guy is sitting there on the staircase and he's trying to woo the ladies, and John Belushi smashes his guitar to smithereens. Yeah.
He's pretty much the drum circle of open houses, housewarmings there.
Right. But she's getting them in a pretty sweet house. I mean, whoever's doing my complaints about the exteriors and the bad settings and the clothing and stuff, the interiors, whoever's doing them,
are nailing it.
They are.
The woodwork, the board and batten, the couch at Joe Costa's house. Like, I just want all of it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so much detail in all of those interiors. You just want to like comb through the bookcases and look at all the little bits and bobs. And
I want to know the paint color for Jocasta's walls. That was like the perfect deep teal. I loved it.
That deep teal blue. Yeah. It's I was just saying to the girls on a Twitter thing, I should find it and tweet it out. There's a whole spread in this month's Better Homes and Gardens, one of the 27 magazines I subscribe to, about there's a type of stone that's kind of like happening right now.
And there's also though, if you go to just about any paint line and look in their historic paint color sections, most of them have like a historic section. There's something that's going to be very close to that. Yeah.
At Bear, Jocasta's wall.
It'll be the Outlander collection.
That would be so smart.
Pro tip, ladies, never buy Bear paint. Always go Benjamin Moore. They will color match anything, and they have the best paint. End of my TED Talk.
So we go over the sea to old Auntie Jocasta's house, and everyone is clearly frazzled and rattled from the hooking / killing / hanging the night before, and they're getting the hell out of Dodge.
That seems real quick, doesn't it? It seems like, that happened like less than 12 hours ago. Bye.
Yeah, look at the road. Could you throw some oatcakes on a donkey? We're getting out of town.
Yeah. That just seemed a little too difficult, like for her to even go off and find, Grizzly Adams. What's his name?
John Quincy Myers.
Yeah, him. Like, he was able to show up, and they were all packed and ready, and it just seems like quick. Like, why even say, 2 weeks later?
Yeah, because even John Quincy. Wait, what did you say? John Quincy Adams? No,
Myers.
Sorry. He was like, I heard that you're going this way. I'm like, how did you already find this out? Like, how did even word leave the plantation that quick?
Right.
Like, there's no internet. Someone didn't tweet you about it. I mean, I don't know how that happened.
Send a raven.
Yeah, right.
You're leaving.
They didn't think that through.
Yeah, it's like those little details. It's like lazy writing. That's like, do they not have an editor in there who's like us who get hung up on stupid details like that?
No, they just think we're not the smartest.
Dumb details don't matter. So Claire goes in to say goodbye, and Jocasta gets under her skin about whether she's letting Jamie like really live his life, not letting him live his best life, not letting him be the laird. How did we feel about their in-law moment? Claire cannot get on with in-laws, it seems.
No, I tweeted last night that I feel like everyone has a relative like that. Like, it was my husband's grandmother, God rest her soul, but it was. I mean, everyone has that relative that no matter what you do or how you do it, it's going to be wrong. Mm-hmm. And And then I also threw out a happy Thanksgiving because hopefully you get to sit at the dinner table with them this week too.
Oh, but then she gave them like wagon and
She
donkey,
had donkey and oatcakes.
oatcakes, and who knows what. So she's not that terrible. She's just one of those, has the bigger piece essentially.
She wants to be in control of all the chess pieces.
Exactly.
Yes.
And being a press operator is, the worst, outcome that could ever happen.
Why would people want to read? That's crazy.
Don't inform people or give them ideas.
Right.
Live here on the plantation. Assume our backwards ways.
But I did think
one thing about Jocasta's house, which I feel weird saying that, she's Jocasta in my mind, is it's almost like they went back into post, whatever they call that, in post-production. They're like, oh, these ladies don't think this is the South. And they just threw some Spanish moss up on like one of the random trees. I'm like,
no,
it doesn't look a live oak, but okay.
Where was that house? They like filmed it all in Scotland. Like,
yeah,
that home in Scotland, it felt very like colonial era.
Matt Roberts talked about finding it after the episode, the first time that we saw Jocasta. Like they happened across it when they were doing their survey for scenery or something, and it just was a miracle. It was a miracle, y'all.
Why do they have to do production there still? I mean, I don't understand that.
I imagine they get some big tax breaks and like literally everyone lives there, like they're wardrobe people and everyone who works on the show. But it seems like they should just pick up and move to Georgia, where you can also get tax breaks.
Right.
Yes.
But,
and it looks a lot more like the Carolinas.
Because it's the South.
Yeah.
And they could have done the whole Charleston thing, which I'm still upset about.
That she didn't get to go to Charleston?
No, I get to go to Charleston. My husband's family's from there, but I just love it so much. I think everyone should have to talk about it and look at it.
Courtney's like, they don't have Bojangles biscuits in Italy.
That's the truth on that. But we do have friends that come that are from North Carolina, and they bring us Bojangles seasoning, and I make me some Bojangles fried chicken.
I would shoot a bitch for a Bo-Berry biscuit right now.
Yep, it's true. Okay, we're digressing. Bojangles. Jocasta could use some Bojangles.
Brought to you by Bojangles, whatever that is. Ian gets to stay in America. Yay.
Ian got me hot and bothered. I know everyone on Twitter thought that I was insane in the membrane, but I thought that Ian, really came into his little puppy dog manhood.
He creeps me
out. I'd be like, I get how he gets the ladies.
Oh, you were turned on. You were hot.
Yeah, I have a thing in my heart for wee Ian, and now I could see it. I hated that actor, but he really sold to me this time.
He's so pasty and little, though. You would break him, Amy. You would break him.
I hope I would break him.
I need to go back and take a gif of a moment, but he's looking up at Jamie, and he just is like, I get to stay in America. Yeah.
Does
but
anyone
he seems confident. He seems delighted by everything and really confident. And he's super horny because he's like, you can have sex with the Indian ladies.
And they choose.
And I'm not cougary at all. I can't even look at Zac Efron without feeling like a total wreck. But there's just something about him. I like it.
They changed his age, though, because he mentions, you were my age when you went to France. I'm like, I swear, isn't he supposed to be younger? Isn't he supposed to be 18 or something? Not in his 20s?
Yeah.
Didn't Jamie go off to war in his 18 when he was 18 or 19 to France with
with Ian when Ian lost his leg, wasn't it?
Old Ian.
Now all coming back.
Old Ian.
All right. I was like, that's not true. He wasn't 18 when he met Claire. I'm wrong.
His conversation with Jamie brings up that he's scared of savages, in the Americas. And that really sets up something I thought we could maybe just quickly discuss, because someone who name's Andrea, or maybe Andrea, in the Facebook group, our That's Normal Facebook group, We're Obsessed Too. And she just, you should go look at it. She posted, I'm a Native person. I'm a little apprehensive about what's about to happen in the show because they're going to be bringing in Native American characters. And given how the show has handled some things in the past, she's feeling super apprehensive about how it's all going to happen. And so then we have Jamie saying savages, and that brings us to what's going to happen in a couple of weeks when they really become, the Native Americans become a much bigger part of this story. So
I totally see where she's coming from. I don't think the producers have really earned any trust points of what they're going to handle it correctly. My biggest complaint about this season even existing is, like, just because Diana wrote it doesn't mean that it doesn't even have to exist as a TV show. Like, I feel like cooler heads or smarter heads should have prevailed and been like, you know what? The world doesn't need another story of white people's experience where people of color, indigenous people, they are kind of props or, window dressing.
It's the white privilege card.
Yeah, it's a part of Jamie and Claire's story. This idea that Jamie and Claire's story has to continue to be told on TV, it doesn't really have to be. So I don't see how you can get around it being problematic, because the story is what it is. It would have just been, let's not make this TV show, which I think would have been the right choice. I think that the story was played out. I mean, I love this book series, but I don't think that really anything happens TV worthy after book 3. And so I don't.
I get more controversial from here.
Yeah. And I think that there's other things. I mean, I lived in Oklahoma a huge chunk of my life. So most of my friends are Native American. So, I mean, from that perspective, I get it. There's other words that they could have used besides savage. Like, I don't think that if this show was taking place in the South in the 50s and the 60s, they would have used the N-word.
Well, I think people would have said, why are you even making this show where you have to make us continue to relive our pain just so you white people can be entertained with this story of white people?
Yeah. I mean, but you could still do drama without having to do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not consistent. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And no one would mind if they just, said Native Americans rather, maybe it's not appropriate for the time, but who cares? No,
but they could have just said the natives.
Yeah, exactly.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it's...
Yeah. And I think we would love to have maybe some more perspective on that. Obviously, we are not people with that firsthand knowledge.
Sure.
So we are open to hearing from you. We love when people comment about things like this. We do not shy away from those subjects. I know a lot of other Outlander groups and Outlander sites out there just want to enjoy the show. That's not us. If you feel, you want to talk more in depth about that, please send us an email, and we would love to have some more voices on here. And we appreciate when people feel open like that.
Yes.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, let's talk about locations. If they're shooting in Scotland, we already talked about where that house is. What's that airport? That wasn't Logan Airport, North Carolina. Amy, please regale us with some airport knowledge.
So I feel like every single viewer in New England, when they saw them say Boston, and everybody was like, what? Like, Logan Airport is kind of a nondescript box. It is surrounded by something called central parking, essentially. It does have a relatively iconic traffic control tower that's a very brutalist style. But it was so obviously the TWA terminal, which is so iconic in its own right. If you have
At
not been
JFK.
at
Yeah.
JFK, and
Aero
it's
Saarinen.
abandoned. It's kind of a facility space now on the inside. It just actually appeared in the Ocean's 8 movie. The inside is so modernist, creepy, futuristic, delightful. So please go down that Google deep dive. Just look up the TWA terminal at JFK. You can actually do tours there. But anyway, the shape of the building and stuff, it was almost like either the people at JFK were like, hey, today we're going to do a shot where you can just bring all these old-timey cabs, and any TV show that wants to do it, just come on over. Or they stole footage from Catch Me If You Can. Like, I do not understand why they're so lazy about shit like that, because it just immediately pulled me out of the scene. I paused the TV show, and I was like, did they actually take the TWA terminal and then in post make it look kind of gray and dingy? Because it's really more of a white building. So I just don't understand why they even have to do lazy stuff like that.
It did look like stock to me, and
Yeah.
I've never been to Boston, but I've been to New York a lot. And but first of all, why would you even want to piss people off? Because the Boston New York thing is already a real thing, anyways. So why insult to injury? But yeah, it was horribly done.
Yeah, it was clearly stock footage, and it brings up the fact that at least the last few episodes plus this have felt a little bit like a clip show. Like, here's some stock footage of this airport. Here's, an overhead shot of a car on what looks like a North Carolina road, but who knows where it is. And here's, a green screen, and we're just kind of cutting and pasting and putting it all together. Like, it just seems like cutting corners or a weird budget choice. I don't know.
Well, they're not spending it on wigs. And even the Scottish festival felt like something that you would see out of like a high school production of, we're going to make this Scottish festival. Nothing really feels organic. And I know that I bring the show up all the time, but if you really want a show that can do setting and feel and time period, watch The Americans. It's not on anymore, but I'm sure you can find it streaming somewhere.
Netflix.
Oh, is it? Cool.
Well, it is here, but I have the Euro Netflix, so I don't know. Sorry, it's too soon.
There's no reason to mess up on that stuff.
No, it's easy. It's like either they're just cheap or uninformed. Like,
well, clearly they're cheap because they're staying in Scotland instead of moving.
And the story never goes back to Scotland, right? Like, it references
it all the time,
but never as like a legitimate, literal, physical setting.
Oh yeah, we're stuck here. We're in America.
Okay, so there's no, besides the obvious, like our crew and everything is in Scotland. There's no thing.
Bring them over.
Welcome in. Come on in. So then they end up on the road trip. Why the hell would you fly into Boston to then do that has to be like an 8-hour at least road trip,
right? Back in the day, that would have been like 18 hours.
Really? Yeah. I have no concept of the East Coast. I'm thinking in like California.
As somebody who's done the drive so many times from Boston to Charleston or Boston to Greenville, South Carolina, we usually break it up into 2 days. Now the speed limit is in the 70s. My ex-husband would definitely go in the 90s, and it's a slog.
And
I was going to say, just from Southern Maryland to Charleston, it's like 8-9 hours, depending.
Yeah. It's skipping ahead to the end a little, but somebody pointed out on the recap, one of the comments was like, well, how did Roger get home? Like, she just...
That's literally what I thought. I was like, did she just ditch him? How does he like get on a bus? How does he get out of there?
I think
she ghosted him.
I think in the books they went to some festival in like New York or somewhere more drivable. I get they wanted to make the parallel of they were traveling in North Carolina back in the olden times and they're doing it now, but like we didn't. Again, that just led to more like stock footage images.
Mm-hmm. The heavy-handed, which brings up the heavy-handed like parallels. Like let's crossfade from the Mustang in the 60s to the same exact road with a wagon on it. Like,
And Clarence the donkey.
Clarence the donkey. And then there's all this Americana, which I was watching and I was like, oh, bald eagle. And then Ian's like, I love this country. And then there's some other stuff that's just like the pursuit of happiness and
I was scared of what she was gonna
manifest
say
destiny.
then. I was bracing myself for her to say "live free or die," like some kind of Donald Trump MAGA bullshit.
just puts on a red hat, like out of nowhere.
Lee Greenwood starts playing, and I'm proud to be an American. I mean, it was just so on the nose. I mean, this bald eagle flying around, like, really?
Are bald eagles even in North Carolina? First off, I don't know if they are.
I don't know, but it just felt so cheesy.
It was like someone was trying to like vomit America all over everything to make it look more like America because they weren't in America.
They were going through a pine forest though at one point. I was like, where was this pine forest when they were at the Turpentine Town or whatever that place?
Right, where you need the pine trees. Yeah.
But it was all worth it to me for that little look that Jamie gave to Claire when Ian was like, you get to have sex with ladies.
And Claire's like, yeah.
I was like, this is why I watch this show, watching Jamie Fraiser looking abashed at something. And you couldn't see his stupid bangs because he had a hat on.
Thank goodness.
Staple
I felt
that
like
sucker to his head.
half the time when the Americana things were happening, I was like, oh God. And the other times I was like, oh, America, it was like so free and beautiful and problematic and crazy. And now we have all this, crazy shit happening right now. So I was like a little bit like, oh, I love it. But also, come on, guys.
I did and I know we're watching a TV show, but that's not, but in the books, I liked that it was summertime or at least a lot warmer. And so the fact that you're kind of out in the middle of the woods with gnats and mosquitoes and stuff, like I always kind of liked that aspect of it because it just felt like hell to me. Like you're traveling, you're constantly wet, like Emily said earlier, like or offline maybe, not in the good way, kind of way. It's constantly damp and like bugs are biting you and chiggers and mosquitoes and.
Claire was always talking about the bugs in the book. Yeah. Like I felt like she was just walking around like this. Like
plus the mosquitoes didn't really like her, right? Because
no, they didn't.
She had special future blood.
And she had like a salve that she whipped up.
Right.
Her own citronella candles, I'm sure.
Right. No, she did. She did citronella. Like,
oh God, of course she did. I love it.
That's the Outlander I want.
The citronella candle making.
Like, putting like air grease citronella all over Jamie.
What about Jamie's like swoon-worthy little speech to Claire when she's like having this crisis of consciousness, their relationship? Like, did she really keep him from, all these great things that he's supposed to be? And he says, but it's not just me, it's you. I would lay the world at your feet. And I was like, oh, Jamie Fraiser.
Because he was like, I would be a criminal if it weren't for you. And I'd be happy doing it. And I was like, yeah, get you a record.
The speech didn't do anything for me. I feel like it's a broken record point. Like, I think it comes up at least once a season. Like, I have nothing. I'm like, I don't care. We know she loves you. Like, it's done.
Do you feel like it's just like Diana is trying to write him as this like perfect human, even though he's like clearly not, but like she's just missing this from Doug, her husband, and she's like, well, this is what Jamie would say, like
probably.
But even in the books, like even as perfect as he is, he has this self-awareness that even when he's being a dipshit, like he acknowledges it. And he has a sense of humor that the writers of the show haven't quite figured out how to do.
That makes me so mad. He is the opposite of funny in the show. Like he's never funny.
Never.
It's a bummer.
He's almost like outside of the whole I thought we just did it like horses did it, naive. Like they constantly take it to a new level every season, which is
And
sad. And then they have like just the whole thing with Claire always has to be reassured, but they want her to be this like very self-conscious, woman of women, like she knows everything about herself and she's so self-aware. But oh, Jamie, just tell me I'm pretty and make me tacos. I mean, it's just
Make me
and the
taco.
writing that in which we love Diana's writing when she's Jamie's dialogue. Why not just rip it directly from the page? It's already there and perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, and instead they seem to be doing this very kind of like stuttered dialogue, especially between Brianna and Roger. And I don't know if that's character choices or what, but or just the actors or the writing. I can't quite figure it out. But there's just like weird, bad writing choice.
Well, and I said this before we were on air, but every conversation really seems to have no point. They're just talking in circles or talking just to waste 5 minutes of airtime and get us to another flashback scene or something. So it's, I don't know, every conversation you come away with nothing.
So much more content could have been covered, and especially if you've read forward, good Lord, the fact that books 4 and 5 are going to have their own season, I'm going to have to, I don't know how I'm going to survive through that. Like they could have put those 3 things maybe, or even like 5 and 6. They could have put 4 and 5 in the same season easily. I mean, there are things that they could have wrapped up in a much tidier box than what they're currently doing, and they're just wasting time. And if they think that they're going to get awards for all this extra pop and circumstance, no, it's not going to happen.
Angst. That's what, because you're right. Just talking about your feelings, it probably works in regular one-on-one human relationships. I don't know, I'm divorced, so don't ask me. But I mean, it's not moving the plot forward. There's no real tension there. I don't really know what this season is building to. What's the ultimate thing that I'm like, I hope they resolve.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've even read the books 3 times. I don't even remember.
I know. I'm having this. I'm like, what is this book about, really?
And we just read it like 3 weeks ago.
It's about how young Ian just wants to get laid with anyone and everyone without discrimination. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, to be 17 again.
Do we have thoughts on Roger, aka Rick Rankin's melodious singing voice? And really, would they have flown him from Scotland for this festival?
No.
It was a little pitchy dog.
It was a bad tryout for American Idol.
Scottish Idol.
And there's nothing I hate worse than the singing whispering and then put it in with his really thick Scottish accent. I mean, he might as well just had marbles in his mouth. Just like Emily, I had no clue.
I did
like
not know what he was
maybe
saying.
like every 5 words, I was like, oh, lassie. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Well, the only way I see the title track, I Googled The False Bride to see if it meant anything, and then the song came up. I'm like, oh, that's what he was singing. I had to work backwards.
Maybe
Nikki Fraiser tweeted out, I know I'm not the only one who was excited about Clarence's debut. And I'm like, do you mean the ass or Roger? Like, the singing is
I will say that Roger, aka Rick, was really working it. Like they had that like angle on him from the side and that like 60s microphone that felt very like Newport Folk Fest.
So I asked this in the tweets, and maybe just because it's been so long since I read the book, but I thought he played the boudron or whatever. He was the drum guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Look that up too.
Yeah, I think it's called the
plays
I was
both.
just, but in the books, so he was and even if you get further into the books after things happen, like the drum
Yeah.
comes back into play.
I mean,
So
I think that scene would have been even worse if it's just him banging on a drum and singing.
no, it's the hand drum where they're like that one. And it could be fun when it's just one. Haven't you ever been to like an Irish pub really late at night and they're just sitting around doing? That's fun. But
it would have overtaken his voice.
It would have. And I'm not saying that would have been a bad thing.
You couldn't have had that like swoony solo moment where Brianna is looking at him like he is like Harry fucking Styles or whatever. She was like giving some like moon eyes. And I have to give it to her. She actually kind of looked like she was into him in that scene.
I was like, she was thinking about
the Wicker Man season or the sequel to Wicker Man's getting ready to happen, and she's just like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
The Wicker Man.
That was so creepy. And again, I was like, do you not know what that's going to evoke from people? You're getting ready to this giant effigy of something. You're getting to light it on fire. It's creepy.
And they don't burn an effigy in the book. They just have like a bonfire, right? What was the thought behind burning an effigy of a stag? Because isn't the stag like the Fraiser animal?
I think they thought it would look neato. I don't know. I
just felt bad for whoever made that. It must have taken forever and they just burned it. I was offended.
I've clearly been reading.
I worked so hard on that craft.
I think I've been reading too much Greek mythology because in my head I was like, man, if the Spartans just would have just done this to the Trojan horse, they could have saved themselves a lot of trouble.
I just started rewatching Game of Thrones and I was like, oh, this is foreshadowing. The Baratheons are about to get it.
Yes.
Oh, well, not them.
Reigns of Castamere.
But the second that she got up and walked out, I'm like, you go, girl, because he was trash. I'm sorry. What kind of creep are you? I'm so in love with you. Marry me so I can have sex with you. I wasn't in love with those other women. Like, that is some crazy, creepy gaslighting shit happening right there. And I was like, do not fall for it.
All right, let's talk about the cabin scene. So she's making moon eyes. He's giving his best Harry Styles. They go into the cabin, have some moonshine, and then he's looking at the stag on the wall. Stag again on the wall. She takes her shirt off. She wants to get busy, and he's like, "Oh, let's make this perfect." Perfect.
Which is the last thing you say to a girl when she's in a state of disrobing. Oh, we're not quite perfect.
Yeah.
And he puts
how many guys would actually
on
do that?
her, and I was like, he's a dummy.
Oh,
I would
Roger.
say like 2% of men would actually do that. They're like, well, we're already halfway there. I can give her the bracelet after.
Right? It's like, why are you stopping?
He's
and why did he like put
momentum.
the shirt? He put the shirt back on her. I was like, oh, come on.
I'm so bummed because this is truly one of my favorite scenes in the book, and I think it's the way they interpreted it for the show made it much worse.
Cheapened
the fact that it was mid like coitus, like all these elements that weren't in the book. That he's wrong in the sense of he wants a virgin, but I also don't think that was exactly what he was trying to say, at least in the book version. I think it's a miscommunication between both of them, and the show version just makes him like seem like an asshole, and I don't know, the whole thing was like it could have been so much better because it's such an angsty scene, and then they made it, yes, it had that angst, but it also had the annoyance of like, well, he's just being a jerk.
And it doesn't make me care about him going forward. I'm just like, leave his ass.
Well,
I think a theory, and this could be, this is my theory, so I'm a drunk Southern lady, but I think that she's going to then go, spoiler alert, to the Stones to find her parents. Instead of the Stephen Bonnet sexual assault situation, she's just going to give it up to him like easy peasy, like almost
Steven?
You think so? So they can avoid that whole backlash?
Oh.
Yeah. You want a virgin, motherfucker?
I got you a virgin.
That's an interesting adaptation choice, and I would love for them to do that. I don't know if I have the faith that they will choose that direction.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I know we're a little mixed on this topic, but I feel like both Rick and Sophie were actually pretty good in this scene. I think she was really trying, which, you know, is more than normal. And I think he's always really pretty good. Like he's like acting and she's kind of a brick wall sometimes. So I felt like them together, it was like really nice to see like an intense moment. And I feel like maybe they're ratcheting up the drama on his end because he is going to be like have such a huge like character change over this entire season if it follows the book.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's definitely going to have to realize that he's been an ass before I can.
For sure. And I mean, if we think about it, isn't this the last time they see each other in person before seeing each other in the past?
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I mean, you probably know that's going to happen, right?
That's what the book runs. But again, part of course, we've learned that, I mean, we might not ever see him. Maybe her and Murtaugh meet up. I have no idea what's going to happen. No clue.
When is he going to show up? When do you guys think? He's just going to pop in to save someone?
I really hope that he shows up as, who was the guy who, again, spoiler alert, marries Jocasta?
Oh,
I hope they... Hiram?
Yeah, I hope they switch places. No. He wasn't a lawyer. He was a Highlander.
He's the one who was impotent.
And he only had like one arm or something. He had a missing appendage. And I'm not talking about his penis.
Jamie to marry her.
So you're thinking that they're going to get rid of that guy as a character because he was basically like a one armless Murtaugh? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and everyone loves Murtaugh so much that I think that would be the most sensible thing. And clearly, is it sad that we're looking forward so much to what is hopefully going to happen? What does that say about the current state of what is happening? We're like, well, maybe this will happen because anything is better than what's happening now.
Well, you just want this character that you like so much to like come in and like have a big save the day moment. Absolutely. And like,
I hope he's Brianna's like spirit guide on trying to find them. I think that would be great. Like he's secretly been keeping track of Jamie and Claire, and he can lead her right to him.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be an extra good reunion.
So it'd be like Uncle Benji from Game of Thrones. Benjen.
Uncle Benjen. What'd you say, Amy?
Who is that?
Uncle Benjen? Oh,
from Game of Thrones. Sorry.
I watched Game of Thrones. Who is that?
He was the Night's Watchman, the uncle.
Yeah, he's Ned Stark's brother.
Dead.
You only see him at the very beginning. And then maybe
at
later.
the very end.
Because he's somebody's daddy, right? Or something?
I think he is maybe been turned at the end.
Some pseudo-turned.
I'm thinking of who's Jon Snow's real daddy, who's not Ned Stark. It's really
Rhaegar.
The sister.
Oh,
Rhaegar Targaryen.
Huge spoiler alert, Rhaegar Targaryen.
And his name isn't even Jon Snow.
No. Oh, that's a whole other Hangoutlander.
That's a whole other show. Again.
Whole other show.
We have to digress to another show.
Real quick, do we even need to talk? Maybe just we need to talk about just real quickly. Claire trying to go save the donkey, Clarence or whoever it was,
freaking Claire,
and she gets her ass lost.
And she has a Hamlet moment.
She has a Hamlet moment. Well, we all know the point of what's going to happen, but she finds this skull, and it happens to have silver dental fillings, which wouldn't have happened for.
Jamie, these weren't discovered for another 100 years.
Yeah, it was like another. Claire acts like an idiot. So we can have a little bit of drama. I was like, I feel like we wasted 15 minutes on this. Like they could have even just found that together.
They should have found it together. It was such a stupid, like, I'm not gonna listen to you after you pour your soul out to me. I'm gonna run away like an asshole and
we're in the middle of nowhere. We have no idea where we are. It's about to have thunder and lightning.
Yeah. Let me run off.
But let's go get the donkey.
Yeah, she doesn't make sense. Like sometimes for being a smart woman, she makes some real stupid choices.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating for her character development because, like I said before, she's supposed to be this very strong woman, But even within like historical contents, I know I said something about it in the live tweeting last week. It's like, oh, she has slaves. Yes, Claire, you know this because you're on a plantation and you've studied history.
You shouldn't be shocked.
Should you be appalled? Yes. Should you be shocked? No, not at all, because you know what happened. Especially if you can remember all this crap about what's going to happen in the Revolutionary War. I just don't understand why she was. Yeah.
You think she would learn? That's what's frustrating for the character. It's like she's done stuff like this in the past, or she hasn't relied on Jamie as an expert in this time, in this period. Like, she doesn't know everything. Like, let him lead a little bit.
Well, even her reasoning for not wanting to go back to Boston makes zero sense. I've already had a life there. Do you think that Boston
is the same?
It's exactly the same.
Are you going to be sad that the Natick Mall isn't really around for you? Like, it makes zero sense. And all of it is so clunky because it's just for them to agree to stay where they are.
Yes.
So there's like so many narrative choices that are made just to have a certain plot occur, not because I feel like the characters would really make that decision.
Right. And then they arrive at Frasers Ridge, aka a green screen, aka you're shooting in one of the most beautiful places in the world. You couldn't have found a beautiful overlook? I don't know. Why?
It had to be like the extra overlook. There had to be like the waterfall, and then also like the moving river, and they had to be on like an outcrop, and yeah.
The strawberries were waving in the breeze.
Of course.
Just find a really beautiful place. We can use our imaginations to believe there's a waterfall nearby.
I think that's the problem. I think it's that they don't think we can use our imaginations. And it's because I have this conversation a lot with younger moms who have children my age. And I'm like, I remember when I was a kid, like, you're watching The Never-Ending Story and you see that flying dog and you know it's not real, but in your head, you're using your imagination and it's real. But we're so dependent on CGI and computer stuff that it's like, oh, they can't see past that. We're gonna have to just spell it out for them. Imagination doesn't exist.
And since half of their viewership are like ladies older than me, and I'm 45, you think they would realize that
exactly.
we're fine.
We grew up having to use our imagination because computers.
Vicky Fraiser texted and said Roger did play the Boren. You're right. FYI.
Yeah. And I was actually corrected. I was talking about this the other morning, and one of my friends is from Dublin. And I think I said I was talking really fast. I said the Boudron, and she's like, no, it's the Boren. And I was like, oh, sorry. Boudron. And it sounded much cooler coming from her because she has an accent.
Wow.
Cool Story Mayor says Boston is also cold as shit. True. And going to be under British occupation for 5 years, not the greatest place for your submissionist husband. All right, cool. We'll accept.
Good points. Good points. We'll take that into account.
South Shore Plaza. That Target on the expressway. All these things that she's going to need. They're not there.
She's gonna run out of herbs. She's gonna need some Neosporin. So
right, Newbury Street Apothecary.
Look
at me dropping all my bullshit Boston references.
It's just bad.
They wouldn't have even lived in Boston. They would have probably lived in like the city of Taunton. Only people from Massachusetts will get that. Well, that's
this is very specific inside joke. So what's next? What's the next episode title? I didn't even see the preview.
It's
watching it on
it's
screener.
Gonna be more drama, like high drama.
What drama?
Let me look it up. I couldn't. I forget. Why can't I remember? Because I'm losing my head.
You know, it would be great if on the screeners they would put the trailer for the next episode.
Yeah. I was assuming next week would just be like a giant building montage.
Common ground.
A giant building montage?
Yeah, they're just going to be building Frasers.
Yeah.
I would totally watch that. I want like a fixer-upper episode, but like Fraser's Ridge, and Chip Gaines comes in and he acts all wacky and throws hatchets at people for fun. And
he's like, it's demo day, and by demo I mean these oaks. We're not gonna have a home.
I watch the hell out of that shit. Why can't we do some kind of cross-promotional thing?
I see shiplap in the surgery and some new recess lighting in the outhouse. And
none of the wood needs to be finished because splinters are fun.
We're gonna get some Bo John, whatever that guy is, to do some iron work in the living room.
That guy. Or Clint, who's,
Jimmy John or whatever.
Works with wood and drinks. Really working with wood. Like that guy's days stay as long. Bless his heart. I feel so bad for him because I'm like, you just want to love your own kind.
So that's what's gonna happen.
The end.
Fixer-upper, Fraser's Ridge.
And I bet you Chip shows up with some Bojangles biscuits because you got to eat.
No, he brings Chick-fil-A because of all the Jesus-y shit.
It probably. In Texas.
That's true.
Oh, that's right, Waco. Jeez.
Don't get me started.
Aw.
So did someone look up the name of the next episode?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Common ground. It's talking about. It's probably going to be the ins and outs of the building, and I'm sure people are going to disagree on things, and maybe Fergus and Marcelli.
Maybe they'll show up again with the baby.
It's already born.
No, will like the measles thing happen in this episode, or will they bring in the fisher folk or whatever?
Yeah, they'll have to start getting some settlers, right?
Like
Yeah. And then what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen with Bree and Roger's story? Are they gonna have the whole misunderstanding of the fire and the whatever, and she's gonna?
Oh, that's right, because Roger calls her. That's what one of the things from the preview. He calls her, and he's like, "I have some news about your mother in the past," which has to be the house fire article.
Oh.
And even just the preview and how I saw it, it was kind of like, how sometimes when you break up with somebody and you have an ex and you just always want them to remember that you still exist. Like it felt like he didn't even call her because he cared. He just was like, I just want you to know I'm still around.
And by the way, got some info on your mom from the past. Because
I've been looking up your family.
I've been cyber library stalking you, biblio stalking your family.
Since we don't have Facebook, I have to go through the annals. I've been hitting up the microfiche.
The annals. We can do in my annals. Okay.
I feel like he might be into that.
That's the thing about Leanne. Like, if you said it's fun, he'd be like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Look, Rick Rankin, I think outside of his character, like in the interviews, he seems hilariously funny. He's always joking, and he's always up for a drink. I would get along with him perfectly.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that thick accent, like he really is he's not like a lowland accent. Like,
oh my God, when he, at the gathering, when he went to do the Mackenzies are here, he like let the Scottish accent like rip. He was like, oh, Mackenzie there, he like really went for it. I was
those callings were so pathetic. Like, we're here. Like, everybody was so sad.
Hey guys!
Now's your opportunity. Like, scream or something.
The Cameron, we're here.
Hey, Cameron. And I think
there's only 12 of us because the production is cheap.
Well, first of all, there was only called out like how many clans, like 5 clans or something like that. And I'm like,
we only have 5 clans.
On HBO, Sharp Objects. Did you guys watch that?
No.
There was like a super sort of racist Confederate party thing they had, and it looked just like that. And they kept showing the same dude walking around in a Confederate wife beater, and all I could think of was just like, there he is again. There he is again. There he is again.
They got that extra, the money out of that extra that day.
Oh, we have to talk about before we leave.
The boots?
Tell us.
The boots!
The boots!
Something that I didn't even give a shit about, and I'm usually nitpicky. I just assumed they were her boots from the future.
Yeah. So Claire, after she runs off to find Clarence the donkey to run away, and it's raining, and she gets under the little lean-to shelter, she unzips her boots and takes them off. Why are you taking your shoes off? But whatever. And so everyone's freaking out. Why is she unzipping? Clearly there's no zippers in the time. Like, obviously she is wearing shoes she brought with her through the stones. We're not the stupid guys.
They went through all that in the episode where she was prepping to go. Remember when that very arduous
Batman.
Yeah. Yes.
The dumb Batman scene. And remember, Claire literally tells Jamie about zippers. Like, I remember that so clearly.
Because he had to unzip her the first time they were doing things at the brothel.
Yeah.
However, in defense of people who thought the zippers were bullshit, like, I can understand them questioning it because you've built up no goodwill with your viewers that they can trust you when it comes to setting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Terry had to jump on the Twitter, doesn't know how to reply to anyone, doesn't know how Twitter works.
She wrote a handwritten note on Twitter.
She needs to have Amy on quick fire text so she can ask how to do it.
I don't even text you. I WhatsApp you. I feel so European when I talk to you, Courtney, because I only use WhatsApp when I go overseas, and I'm like, oh, someone's WhatsApping me.
It's me. Who's this +39?
Oh, no. Yeah, so the boots thing seemed like kind of crazy, like to care about. But and someone mentioned, and I never ended up reading it, but that they wanted us to assume that the traveler saw that she had zippers, and that's why he was helping her out. And I was like, I would have never gotten that.
The ghost
Not only that, but he had a big crack in the back of his head. I don't think his cognitive functions were...
Not just a crack, but like he had also been scalped.
Yes.
An open wound up
was
there.
His head shaved?
It was like a scalp.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
Which is something that they keep bringing up over and over again. And haven't we learned, isn't that the kind of a stereotype that really didn't happen?
Of scalping?
Yeah. But it was very specific to,
very specific group. Yeah. I mean,
it's not like every single Indigenous person is.
But big surprise, American history would just lump it all together.
Oh yeah, they love to titillate, like things like scalping or all these other sexual violence. They write into the show unnecessarily so because it's titular.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be coming up soon. So we'll see if we're gonna have some titular action, or if they finally learned their lesson, which I'm assuming now.
Probably not.
They haven't learned shit.
Well, is that?
I feel like we were really negative, but I think we go through this a lot. Like, we love the show, obviously, or we wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be up at 3:00 in the morning talking about it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, it comes from a place where we're reading and we're watching and we're so passionate about it. We have a lot of, and we're just really opinionated women. There's nothing wrong with that.
We love the story, but I think especially this episode felt very much like a bridge. Like they were just trying to bring up some story points so they could talk about it down the road.
Like book 5, like all of book 5.
Yeah. So we had to talk about it.
This entire
I'm grumpy about it because there are people out there who are making amazing TV, and there's no reason why this show shouldn't be amazing.
I agree. The show canon should be, considering their budget, and it's with Stars.
Yeah,
It's not like
I mean,
it's not NBC, y'all.
yeah, and
But
we
like,
go back.
I sucked it up because I didn't want to deal with the screeners because they have like distracting watermarks on them. So I actually purchased Stars this month, and I started watching Sweet Bitter because I loved those books, and I've written about it for That's Normal.
Yeah.
I mean, even just that little show, just their sense of atmosphere and theme and the way that they actually captured the New York underground bar scene, post restaurant working stuff. I mean, you can do it well with the Stars budget.
Totally.
You know, the Sweet Bitter budget is nothing compared to the Outlander budget.
Nothing.
For sure. And I mean, clearly there's a different budget between modern day and a historical drama. We totally recognize that. But I think what we say again and again is the choices from adaptation, from book to TV show, they may not be making the right choices.
This whole season,
There's no adaptation.
yeah, this whole season
No.
so far has just felt like it's working to get us to some point when like they could have just started. They could have, all three of these episodes, like you said, could have been condensed into one, and we could be at the Ridge living, stereotypical Outlander, the stuff that everybody loves. We could be spending more time on that than silly nonsense.
It's almost like they had to do the hooking lynching scene to let us know, like, okay, well, Claire did go back and endure this part of American history. Now let's move on to the stuff that you want to see. Because I don't know if they're really going to address this, the slavery issue again. They don't. So, I mean, they go back to River Run, and there's the murder of the slave. But again, I don't know what book that happened in.
That was book 5. That was book 5.
Yeah.
Which also can be skimmed over because it's a bridge.
Yeah. The whole first 100 pages are the same freaking hour.
Yeah.
Same hour?
100? You mean 200?
It took me 2.5 years to read book 5.
Oh,
It's
no.
it's
I was
hard.
about to start that the other week.
Girl.
Just skip the first 200 pages. You'll be fine. You won't miss anything.
You're going to need more wine.
That's fine. Here's the thing with Drums of Autumn. I was like behind for In the Water read, so I just skipped ahead, and I really enjoyed the last like half of the book that I read. I was like, this is my favorite Outlander book.
Oh,
Just
let's
the
remember
last
Lord
half.
John is coming back, so.
Well, I enjoy Lord John scene. I don't need a whole book about Lord John. He's not maybe my favorite character, but
I agree.
I'll take a scene or 5 with David Barry on the show.
It wouldn't hurt.
Before we sign off, can I ask Emily to show us what is on her t-shirt? Because it looks like delightful font.
Yeah.
I want to know what it says.
You might have to lean up a
You
little.
just stand up or something.
Ooh, it says "Look and Listen." It's
Okay.
from the podcast "My Favorite Murder."
Oh.
Oh my gosh, Emily, are you an MFM person? I'm so glad to know this.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
got it a
gosh.
couple months ago.
Did you? I just fell into this My Favorite Murder rabbit hole while I was redoing my garage doors, and I am obsessed. Okay,
It's amazing.
nighty. I love that show so much.
I love that
Yeah.
there's merchandise for a true crime podcast.
Yeah,
There's
and
merchandise
love that I
for
have 2 shirts
all
from.
podcasts.
That's
I
great.
Yeah.
I spent a
I
lot of
listen
money
to
on
trash
this shirt.
podcasts, and there's merchandise for trash podcasts
Yeah.
too.
Like, part of me wants to get remarried. I don't have a boyfriend or anything, but like, I want to get remarried so I can get like, "Fuck you, I'm married." Like, I just want to wear that. For My Favorite
I know.
Murder.
It's gonna
If
be
you're
my
not listening to
gift
My
to
Favorite Murder, you people out there, listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't like true crime, except from these 2 ladies, Georgia Hardstark and Karen Kilgariff, and they are hilarious.
They're on the national tour right now too.
Yeah, and they're coming out with a book in 2018. Yeah.
I
trying
love
to get
true
a copy of
crime, and I just have not gotten into podcasts.
You're so behind, Nikki.
I
It's-
don't
oh my
drive much during the week, so it's like,
That's
when
why
am
I
I
listened,
listening to this?
I use it for a lot of sewing time now because Bob always wants to sit on me, and sometimes when I don't want him to sit on me on the couch, Bob is my dog. I will sit in my office and listen to My Favorite Murder, but I just rehabbed and saved 3 garage doors on my garage. So I basically, my favorite murder. First I did Dr. Death, and then they were talking about
Yeah,
I
that's
want
on
to
the
watch
list.
that.
No. The bitch sesh girls that talk about Real Housewives were talking about Dr. Death and my favorite murder. So I did Dr. Death first, and then I was doing my favorite murder, and it's amazing. Okay, goodbye.
All right. Subscribe to those podcasts and this podcast.
But
Tweet
most
at
And we
importantly,
have
this
merch
podcast.
too. We
Yeah,
do
we
have
do.
merch.
Mhm.
So there's that. I'm going to refill, and we're going to see you next week. We love this show, and we hate watch this show also. So thanks to everyone. Follow everyone in this panel, and we will see you next week for Common Ground. See you later, everyone.